Hello everyone, it's Caroline or Miss B Overseas. Thank you so much for joining me for a video that I have no business filming. Although I love to read books and talk about my feelings about books with strangers on the internet, I feel like I have no idea how to actually rate books. I feel like my ratings bear no actual weight. I've looked back at the books that I've given 5 stars in the past, and I truly feel like every single one of those ratings are just circumstantial. Like they're based on what I was feeling at the time or where I was when I was reading it. And even being self-aware of all of that, I am going to make some predictions about books that I think I'm gonna give 5 stars to. So really, I guess it would be more appropriate if I called this like a books that I think I'm gonna like video, but let's be honest, no one's gonna click on that. Because I love a theme and I love the rule of 3, I have 5 books that I plan on reading in the future that I am predicting more or less that I'm going to give 5 stars to, and keeping with that theme of 5, all of these titles are backlist by at least 5 years. I just felt like I needed to include that detail because when I was planning for this video, I was shocked and appalled to find out that 2016 was 5 years ago. I know, it sounds like a lie, but it's not. The first book that I'm predicting that I'm going to give 5 stars to is More Than This by Patrick Ness. I really can't tell you a whole lot about this. Every single summary that I've found is extremely vague, and I feel like it's kept that way on purpose. I know that the premise is that at the very beginning, a young boy drowns and he wakes up in another world. Going off that plot alone, like that alone isn't enough to get me to think that I am going to give this 5 stars. However, I have read from Patrick Ness in the past, and the stuff that I've read from him that I've loved, I've super loved. I also think that this could be a story that has a lot to do with grief, and from what I've read of Ness in the past, I feel like Ness writes grief, particularly teenage grief, very, very well. I feel like he handles it with care. I feel like the whole dying and waking up in a different world, or like dying and waking up again, I feel like that trope alone is something that when I read it, I am very engaged and drawn into that. I think that the whole setup just leads me to believe that it's going to be emotional and gripping, and maybe do some cool things with like afterlife and discovering things about yourself that you couldn't discover while you were living. Next, let's just get this one out of the way. It's Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. It really has no business being on this list because I don't really have any prior experience that should lead me to believe that I am going to give this 5 stars. I have never read anything from Blake Crouch before. This falls in the adult thriller genre, or I guess just the thriller genre in general isn't typically a genre that I love, if even like. And then also there are science fiction-y elements to this, which I do appreciate a good sci-fi, but adult sci-fi is not a journey that I have taken very far. With that all being said, I still am predicting that this is going to get 5 stars from me. And if you're asking, Caroline, why do you think that? I'll try and tell you. I get so gripped and interested by this book's initial setup. The whole premise of it is that there is this man who at the beginning is leading a seemingly average and normal life. He is in a happy marriage, and I think that they have a child, and then one night he gets like jumped effectively. He wakes up and discovers that this life that he thought he was living is not actually his own, and in this time or place that he wakes up in, he is this like renowned, I don't know, scientist that has made this discovery about memory and time. So historically, I do enjoy books that use time as a conflict, where the characters are trying to beat time, or time is causing tension in some way, where characters get lost in time, or like time is the antagonist. And I'm not gonna lie, I just want to find my niche in the thriller genre, because I feel like it's this whole big community and genre category of books that I'm missing out on. So I want to find my niche, and I'm putting all of my hopes and dreams in this one. And based on almost no evidence, I'm predicting that I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Next is White Teeth by Zadie Smith, which is adult literary fiction, which is a genre that I have enjoyed in the past. I'm still kind of dipping my toe into the literary genre pool. The book follows 2 World War II veterans, and although I don't enjoy stories about war, like real life historical wars, I do enjoy settings and characters that have been impacted by war, but I don't want the story to be about war. I just want war to be like in the background. Anyways, we're following these 2 veteran soldiers as they kind of get a second lease on life. I think they both remarry and they both have children, and what I am looking for in this one, why I think this is going to get me 5 stars, is because I love an intimate generational book. So here's what I mean by that. I don't want to read about the history of a family, like a spanning, expansive history. If we're following 2 to 3 generations of a family or a group of families, and then kind of seeing how the children may have been impacted by their parents, and the parents don't know that they are influencing their children because of things that they went through earlier before the children were even born. I can't even think of a book that comes to mind that I've read that has this specific thing. But I know that I enjoy it, and I think that I may find it in this book. I've also been told that Zadie Smith in general does this thing in her narration that I know I like, where it's a third-person omniscient narrator basically, but where you get to see into the minds of every single character. Next up on my list of books that I think that I'm going to give 5 stars to is The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner. This is young adult contemporary that focuses on this group of teens living in a small, I think southern town, and they're all in their senior year. Graduation is imminent, and I think that it just focuses kind of on small town life, not knowing what to do after graduation, not wanting to leave each other after graduation. I've learned about myself as a reader with my preferences is that if I am to truly love a young adult contemporary, it typically needs to focus on a group, whether that be a friend group or a family group of young people. I think that gone are the days that I can follow just like a singular character and their thoughts and feelings, and really, really love that. I think that's what happens in here. I think that we may even get, yeah, alternating narrator chapters from this like group of friends. Also, there's just something about like teen existential dread that I really like to read about. I don't want to read about adult existential dread because it's just too real for me, but teen existential dread is something that I enjoy reading about. Last on this list is Long Division by Kiese Layman. This book is probably most deserving of being on this list just because there's several different elements that are leading me to believe that it's going to be 5 stars. One, I have read a memoir essay collection from Layman, and in his essay collection, he kind of talks about his writing process for this book, and what he wrote about the book is what initially intrigued me and turned me on to the book in the first place. So the premise for this one is that a young boy goes viral after kind of getting overly upset on this Jeopardy style game show, and I think kind of to avoid the backlash for that, he gets sent away to live with some sort of distant family member. And when that happens, somehow he discovers or gets given this book called Long Division. So we already have a book within a book, which is an element that I love. And upon reading this book, he discovers that the main character's name is his name. The only thing is the book itself is set in 1985. Oh, another element that I just now remembered, there is a girl, when the main character moves to live with their extended family member, there is a girl that I think has gone missing from the town that the character moves to, but when he is reading this book, her name comes up and she like exists and is alive, and I think that the character is able to travel in time, or he is able to travel into the book. Again, we have a book that kind of blends and bends genres, which is something that I have been known to like in the past. Also, it seems like there may be a little bit of play with parallel universes or parallel personalities. That's it. Those are the 5 books that are at least 5 years backlist that I predict that I am going to give 5 stars to. Let me know, you know, like all of the typical things. Have you read any of these? Am I correct in assuming that I'm going to get 5 stars out of these, or am I just completely messed up in my thinking? Let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. Goodbye.